Over IRS notice CP54G. You might receive this notice as a taxpayer if the IRS identifies a problem with either your name or your taxpayer identification number on your tax return. So we'll go through this notice. We'll talk about what it means and what you can do if you need to do anything about it in just a moment. But I want to point your attention to two things at the top of this notice. In the upper right hand corner, you'll see the notice number, which is CP54G, the tax year, which for this notice is 2015, the notice date January 26th or 25th, 2016. This might be the most important part of the top part of the notice, because if there is an action item, if there's anything that the IRS needs you to do, then there's going to be a due date associated with this notice date. It might be, please update your file or contact us within 30 days of this notice, whatever the case may be. But please note that unless there's an action item with a specified date, most likely your timeline is going to be associated with the notice date that's provided on this notice. So in this case, January 25th, 2016. You should check your taxpayer ID number listed here to make sure that it's correct, since that's the issue that's being raised here. And then a contact phone number if you need to contact the IRS. Over here in this area that's completely redacted would be your name and address. So you would want to make sure that your taxpayer name and your address are up to date. So since this notice specifically talks about your name and taxpayer ID number, those are the first things that you should check. If everything is fine, you'll probably not need to do anything with the IRS, but you may need to take some action anyway. We'll get to that in just a moment. In the address field, if you've recently relocated or changed addresses, normally your tax return, the next time you file your tax return, will update your tax record accordingly. But if you're receiving correspondence from the Internal Revenue Service in between tax returns, then it's generally a good idea to update your address on file before your next tax return. So you can do that in one of two ways. You can either contact the IRS at their 800 number that's provided at the top of the notice. You'll go through a phone tree, validate your information, and then you can change your address over the phone. Or you can file the IRS official change of address form known as IRS Form 8822. So we'll put links in the show notes to articles and videos we've created about IRS Form 8822, as well as its companion form, IRS Form 8822-B. That's for business owners. We'll put those links in the show notes. So let's take a look at this notice. So it shows that your name or your tax return shows a different name and or social security number from the information provided by the Social Security Administration. So as two federal government entities, the IRS and Social Security Administration do compare records on individuals. So the idea is that the IRS has the same information about your identity, your name, your tax ID number as the Social Security Administration. And then that way, if there's information that needs to go back and forth, such as Social Security earnings for your eventual Social Security benefits, then they're able to exchange that information seamlessly. And this is a letter that you would receive when that's not happening, because either your information in your IRS records is wrong, or your information in your Social Security Administration records is wrong. So this happens if you've changed your name, most likely if you've gotten married, if you made a typo on your tax return, whatever the case may be. So if you recently updated your information with the Social Security Administration, then it may take a couple weeks to correct the issue. You should contact them just to see if there's anything that you need to do. Don't automatically assume that it's going to be taken care of. But I would contact the Social Security Administration. But it appears on this notice, if your information is correct in your IRS records, then you don't need to respond to the IRS. However, in the very next step, it says complete this response form on pages 2 and 3. So if you have any doubt, and you know, generally speaking, you shouldn't have any doubt if your tax ID number here is correct, your name is correct, and your address is correct, then you may need to determine whether or not your information is correct on your Social Security Administration account. And then, of course, you can compare that information to what was shown on your tax return. So if this information is off here, then you can simply just update your information. If your name is incorrect and it's shown differently here, then you would use the response form to update your information just to make sure that the IRS has everything straight. And then once the IRS receives your response form and verifies your information, they'll process your refund unless there are other taxes, back taxes, or other debts that you owe. So let's take a look at this response form. Again, it will carry down your name and information as shown on your tax return, and you may need to include copies of legal documents. Copies, not the original documents. So if you need to submit a driver's license to help verify your identity, submit a copy. Marriage certificate, same thing. So there are three choices here. You can check the top box if your Social Security card is correct, but the information shown up here is not correct. You would complete the rest of the form. You attach a copy of your Social Security card to prove your identity. If your identifying information is correct, but your Social Security card is not correct, you would complete the rest of the form, attach copies of legal documents that show your identity or prove your identity, and support your information. And then if both of them are correct, then you would need to contact the Social Security Administration to make sure that their records are up to date. And you would complete and return this form to the IRS. So in step 2, you're going to verify for tax purposes your Social Security number, and you would spell that out exactly as it is on your card right there. You would enter your first name, middle name, and last name. And then in block 3, you would explain any discrepancies. So there may be a reason or some justification. You have some space provided to provide that. And then you would provide your contact information, your name, street address. If you have a foreign address, you would enter that in the box. And then you would sign and date it at the very bottom of the page and send it to the IRS address that's located there should be an envelope provided. So if you use your own envelope, then mail your package to the address that's on the top of this form up here. I'm going to take a quick look at the IRS webpage just to see if there's any additional information about this notice. There is a link there, as you can see, and you'll see what the notice is about, what you would need to do, complete the response form. You may need to contact either the IRS or the Social Security Administration, depending on where you feel your information is not up to date. And then make sure you use your information updated, your correct information the next year. So there's one frequently asked question: what happens if you're waiting on a tax refund and you haven't heard from the IRS after 6 weeks? You can check the status on Where's My Refund on the IRS website. If that doesn't give you a satisfactory answer, you can also file IRS Form 3911. That's the taxpayer statement regarding refund. And in some situations, you may have to do that as determined by the Where's My Refund tax tool. So generally speaking, you should be careful about filing second returns or doing anything, aggressive about this, but follow the steps here. So if you've filed a paper return, you would need to wait 4 weeks. If you've filed within or electronically, then you may be able to get it the same week. And you should see either a refund approved, a return received, or a refund sent. So depending on that, you may want to follow up with the IRS accordingly. So You can go through that tool. You would select, basically, you go through this menu, and it should give you something. But again, we'll put links in the show notes to all the forms mentioned here or that are relevant to your situation. So we'll go back to the notice. I think we've covered everything here. As I mentioned, we'll put links in the show notes to the resources we've created on forms and articles mentioned here. So articles or videos. So if you like our articles, please subscribe to our newsletter. If you like our YouTube videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, or if there's another topic that you'd like to see covered in an upcoming video, please hit me up in the comments section. Thank you very much and have a great day.